welcome and thanks for meeting me today. So I'd like to just jump in and start with your introduction of yourself, your university, a little bit about your background, if you can give us some introduction, please.
Yeah, for sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Sandra. I'm an international recruitment officer here at the University of Lethbridge. Lethbridge is located in southern Alberta in Canada. We are a Western province in the Prairie provinces. And we do have two campuses, one in Lethbridge as our main campus and one in Calgary in our downtown smaller campus. It's our satellite campus. So with my job as an international recruiter, what that means is I meet with students to provide information about our university, help guide them through the application process. And my role is currently to recruit undergraduate students to our over 150 programs. We do have some undergraduate four-year degrees. We have a couple of diplomas, as well as two-year after degrees and kind of bridging certificates for accounting. And then I also recruit for the English Language Institute, which has some programs, group programs, as well as kind of pathway program that meets the English requirement for our university. So anyone in certain areas who don't meet that English language mark, they can take our program and transition into undergrad and graduate programs. As part of my job, I am also an RCIC, so I'm a registered Canadian immigration consultant. But with my current role, I mainly work on the recruitment side of things. We do have a very dedicated team here at the university. They're in the International Center, and they're international student advisors. And those advisors are RCICs, as well as RISIAs. RISIAs are regulated international student immigration advisors. So they specialize specifically on student immigration issues, and RCICs are able to oversee that, as well as a broader range of immigration topics. So each day they meet with students and answer email inquiries about all the things related to international student immigration, that journey, how to apply for a study permit, rules around work as a student, their eligibility for postgraduate work permits, kind of the whole pipeline of student success in Canada. They hold webinars, pre-recorded information sessions like this one. They hold pre-arrival workshops, campus orientation. They do engagement activities here on campus. And so if students are really interested in getting that information, that side of things, we do have an email that they can contact our advising team through, and it's international.advice@uleth.ca. And then if they're interested in the application process, any information, speak with me first. I'm super happy to help. And then we can work together, along with Collab, of course, to help you get on your way.
Thank you so much for this introduction. So, Sandra, I think I just would like to start, since we're shooting this Zoom video, Zoom recording over the 24th of January right now, and yesterday there was an important decision from the Immigration Department of Federal Government of Canada. Mr. Mark Miller mentioned that there will be some caps on new student visa applications, and there will be limitations on spouse visas, especially open work permits, and postgraduate work permits as well. So having an RCIC background and being an international recruiter, would you like to just give your comment on this as well, maybe as an approach that your university has for the future students, incoming students, and maybe with some facts and figures that can explain that the student recruitment can still strongly continue in Canada, and especially on behalf of your university, University of Lethbridge, and your state. And then we can talk more about your university, hopefully, and the region, and more in details for them as well. Yeah, go.
Of course, good question. So they did announce the caps. So there is still a lot of, moving parts. People still trying to wrap their head around what this really means for the future. There is a lot of discussions happening, higher up, institutionally wide. As a general kind of plan for the institution, we've always been interested in growing our international student numbers, and we've seen a really big growth. within the last few years. Post-COVID, we've grown up to even 15%, reaching our target years before we were expecting it. So there's a lot of interest in the university and in Alberta in general. So news of the cap, initially, it was kind of a surprise, worrying, but it may not result in too huge of an impact for certain provinces. So I'll kind of get into it a little bit more. So there was a national 2-year cap of new study permits. The cap will be at about 364,000 approvals for 2024, which will be a 35% decrease from 2023. Now, the 2025 cap will be determined at the end of 2024. This cap is a decrease, but it is kind of in response to the huge growth that we have seen in the last couple of years. So pre-COVID, this was a similar number that we were seeing. And then post-COVID, it kind of exploded. And what the Minister Mac Miller had mentioned was he's wanting to target colleges that are abusing the system in certain areas, meaning that they're promising too much, providing not enough resources for students, as well as over-enrolling students in areas that cannot meet that capacity. If you are applying to, regulated public or private institutions, university colleges that are viewed by the provincial and federal government as being reputable, accredited, and regulated, and they are, following the rules of how to help students, I wouldn't worry too much about this. It's more kind of targeting people who have been misusing the system. There will be a large decrease in certain provinces, that's very clear. The most international students tend to go to Ontario as well as BC. And so they are saying that the cap will be allocated by proportion of the population by province. So some provinces will see a significant decrease in study permits, and that may benefit some province. So there could be some winners in the system than others. So we're yet to kind of see what that's going to actually mean. They still have to talk with the provincial governments as well as determining institutionally what the numbers will look like. But one thing that each province will know is that they will be allocated a certain number of international students per institution. So if you're interested in applying to universities here in Alberta and specifically the University of Lethbridge, still apply. Just because there's a cap, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get through.
I could not agree more. Yeah, that was my actually following up question here. So basically, there's an expectation to have positive results about the provinces like Alberta, for example, to have more interest coming in from international students and possibly future immigration candidates. So maybe I can also follow up on this question and ask, what would be your message for an international student who's considering Canada in general, and why an international student should consider Alberta and University of Lethbridge? Can you also maybe mention possibly a difference in terms of the aspect of immigration applications and also in terms of the quality of education, the difference between going to a college or a university as well, since we are talking about a university here, University of Lethbridge, who has a lot of career-based programs as well, who has the same functions that colleges and tech institutes also offer. So maybe we can also mention, while offering all these functions and services, why going to a university might be more important, and what would be your message for an international student to actually choose Alberta, choose University of Lethbridge over British Columbia or Ontario or the popular destinations?
Yeah, that's a multifaceted question.
Yeah. You can cover all of it.
Okay, yeah. So I'll start with maybe the difference between a university and a college. So as a university, as a public institution, you are provincially regulated and you do receive some funding from those sources, because you have to uphold a certain quality of education through your facilities, services to students, as well as quality of programs and faculty. Research is a really important concept as well. So we are a liberal education university with over 150 programs at the undergraduate level. We also have graduate school programs for research. When you compare that to a college, most colleges tend to be focused on shorter term programs, be it diplomas, certificates. Some do provide degrees, for example, nursing and more professional scoped kind of focuses. When you're deciding on choosing a university versus a college, I think it really depends on what you're looking for. So if you are, straight out of high school and you are young, and even as, you finished your first undergraduate degree, I would recommend a university, because statistics show that completing a 4-year bachelor's degree in whatever discipline that you're really interested in pursuing, those students tend to make more overall in their lifetime. So they're more likely to be higher paid. More employers look at university graduates than colleges, but it also just does depend on the specific areas. If you're looking for a trade, something short, very focused in career development, in that case, colleges are the place to tend to go. But if you're someone who's interested in, business, education, health sciences in general, you want to do lots of research, universities are kind of the place that most people will be, in the long term, benefited overall. When it comes to choosing Canada as a destination, Canada's education system is world-renowned. We do receive when graduates from our universities are applying for careers even in other countries, our credentials are recognized and well recognized. So choosing a university that is well known and is part of Education Canada will help you in the long run if you want to move to another country as well, pursue a master's degree somewhere else, professional program somewhere else, or even just getting a job. You may not receive that same kind of distinction if you are graduating from a college and then decide to go to another country. But that isn't, across all colleges. There are very recognized colleges and technical institutions, but there is quite a difference in terms of your overall goal in Canada. We do provide some shorter programs at our university. So if you're interested in finance, for example, we have a 2-year diploma that is really fantastic, and we have really great, facilities and programs for that. We also do have some certificates. For example, there's a accounting bridging certificate that's really great for bridging to become a chartered professional accountant in Canada. But as a general rule, we do have 4-year bachelor's programs, as well as second degree programs. So some programs you're able to get some credit for to then do a shorter second degree here at the university. And then you can also do a graduate studies, so master's and some PhDs as well. Universities do tend to be very research focused. So at the University of Lethbridge, we have a really fantastic facility. We recently completed the Science Commons building, which is a state-of-the-art education facility and considered one of the best in Canada for science education and research. So coming out of there, even at the undergraduate level, you're in the lab in your first year. You get that 4-year practical experience. And then even in your undergrad, we are considered #1 in medical and science grants in Canada, according to the Maclean's 2022 and 2023 ranking. So if you are a research-focused person, you want to develop that portfolio, you want to get some grants for that research, the University of Lethbridge is really good for that. Similarly, we are #6 in the overall Maclean's undergraduate ranking for 2024. So this university is well known, and you are going to get a very quality education. And then I do forget the rest of your question.
I think, no. Basically, I think I got my answer for many aspects of my last question, but I can follow up with my my final question can be a follow-up on whatever I asked before. So finally, can you also mention the strength of the University of Lethbridge when you look at the international recruitment, and why an international candidate, let's call it investment, why they should invest, should they invest in studying in University of Lethbridge, and why should they invest in maybe settling in Alberta and your regions. While mentioning that, also people should be interested to know, since the expenses are getting very high in Ontario, in BC, the life is very expensive. So maybe you can also give your comments about how much does it cost to live in Lethbridge, if you have on-campus facilities that can provide cheaper accommodation, maybe what are the general accommodation, transportation, food expenses in your region. Maybe we can give some heads up to the candidates who would like to study in University of Lethbridge or settle in that region in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I'll start with maybe some of the quick benefits and facts about our university that students find us quite attractive, and then I'll go to maybe why Alberta more specifically. So our university would be considered a mid-sized to small university. We have about 8,400 students in our student body, and then we have about 1,200 international students thereabout. So we have seen a huge increase from 2020 with like about 600 students. So then it's doubling up. So we know we're very attractive to international students. One of those reasons will be that we have smaller class sizes. With being at a bit of a smaller school, you're going to get more attention from your instructors. You're going to be able to get to know them a little bit better. You want to get on some of their research. You may be able to do that even at the undergraduate level. So there are quite a few opportunities that a smaller school give you than being maybe, lost in a class of 1,000 people. It's kind of a benefit to be somewhere small.
Exactly.
Similar, because we are in a bit of a smaller city in Lethbridge with about 130,000 people. It is more of a community college and university vibe here in Lethbridge. It's interesting when talking to international students coming from really big areas who 130,000 means like a village. Like, that's nothing. What do you mean? In Canada, there's probably around 6 or 7 cities, I can't remember the exact number, that have over 1 million people. And those are considered like the mega cities. So it is a huge country, one of the biggest in the world. So we are a bit spread out, and then we have a bit more of a focused cities with smaller populations, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to get all the amenities and education and life that you want. Being somewhere small, you can you're getting a hospital, you're getting a mall, you're getting movie theater, restaurants, all the kind of entertainment that you're looking for, but you're also getting a quality education. So here we have a University of Lethbridge, but we also have a college. So a city of our size having 2 institutions, that may not be something that you see in other really small places in the world. But we also have a satellite campus in Calgary, which I mentioned. That is a smaller building, and that one was initially developed to be somewhere where professional development for people who are already within their careers will pursue a second credential or degree. And so we have seen it grow so much. And so that has changed a little bit, where we have students coming straight out of high school who are interested in living in Calgary, who want to do a bachelor's of management, for example. They may go to the Calgary campus. That is more evening and weekends. So the way you would structure your life is you live off campus, you come to campus in the evenings or the weekends to study, you work during the day. But in Lethbridge, we have all of the facilities that you'll want: recreation facilities, fantastic gyms, if you like to work out, if you just want to, join a badminton kind of thing in the evening, you can just drop in at the gym. We have an Olympic-sized swimming pool where we have competitions happening with our varsity athletics, as well as open lane swimming and activities like that. We also have a rock climbing wall. We have different studio spaces if you want to do Zumba, HIIT classes, different types of kind of drop-in workout areas. And then we do have a lot of student life and activities happening here at the main campus as well. We do have on-campus accommodation. So if you want to live on campus, there's first-year accommodation in our university hall. And then we have our continuing education with different apartment buildings on campus. And the the cost of it does depend on the room choice that you do choose. If you're choosing a single bed apartment, it's going to be cheaper. It's going to run you maybe just under $800 a month. But if you're going to choose an apartment in a townhouse, like that's going to be much more expensive. So it does depend on what you're kind of going for. When it comes to cost of living in a small city versus a big city, you will see a difference. The cost of living in Alberta in general tends to be lower than the more popular provinces, BC and Ontario, because we do have a smaller population, but we also have one tax. It's called the GST, which is the federal tax that you'll pay on all the goods and services. Other provinces, they have PST on top of GST. That is the provincial tax. So if you're buying something, you're paying two taxes, upwards of 10, 15%. And then in Alberta, we only have one of those taxes, which is 5%. So your money can go a little bit further here in Alberta. And then with that said, students who come to us do want a cheaper tuition. We have cheaper tuition of comparable universities here in Alberta, and you will be able to kind of let that money go further with still a very quality program. So if you're interested, a quality program, cheaper tuition, cheaper cost of living, Lethbridge is a really great place to be. And we are seeing a big growth in terms of our population in a short period of time. So, young families are moving here. We are a destination university. So we're seeing, 70+% of our students coming from outside and coming to Lethbridge because they want this education for the quality and the cost. Similarly, we are really good for our co-op work experiences. We're one of a few universities who are able to provide 100% of our programs with co-op. If you're an undergraduate student or a graduate student, you can pursue co-op work experience. What that means is you would pause your studies and hopefully get a work placement with a relevant career to your degree. And then you can work for a certain period of time and then come back and do your studies. So that's resume building that is super valuable when you graduate, because Canadian work experience to employers means a lot. You may think it doesn't, it does. And you need to start developing that in your undergraduate years. I will mention a stat, which is written down, and I can never remember the actual number. But in our survey, we found that on average, our Lethbridge co-op students are making approximately $24 an hour. National average, it's about $22.31. So we are, in Alberta, you can get paid more. We do have a minimum wage, which is $15 an hour. And we are one of the first provinces who have put that in place. $15 an hour, for example, if you're working at Tim Hortons or McDonald's or something. And so to have a co-op experience and to have the opportunity to make more money as a student and, pause your studies so you're paying a reduced tuition is a very big advantage for a lot of students. So career-wise, for your degrees, I really recommend do at least one term of co-op if you can. And then similarly, we have some really unique programs at our university. With that said, we have something called the Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience. So the neuroscience program is within the Canadian Centre of Behavioral Neuroscience. And so you're having, state-of-the-art facilities within a facility that has faculty who are experts in their field. So those are the teachers teaching students who are just, fantastic. This is really great for students if they're even interested in psychology and matching it with neuroscience. If your trajectory is to get into the health science field, having some background in neuroscience is great. And then similarly, we have the Dillon School of Business. That's probably our most popular programs there. The Dillon School of Business has a lot of different majors, be it computer science, accounting, political science, general management, finance, international management, human resources, like a ton. Within this facilities, we do have accreditation. It's called AACSB, which is the Advanced Collegiate School of Business accreditation. And it is interesting that students who graduate from AACSB accredited universities do have a higher chance of getting employed because employers are looking for students coming out of these quality programs. So they, do a yearly assessment of these programs and make sure that your facilities, your faculty, your programs are of a high level. And then you are provided this accreditation. So going into those specific programs are really great. In addition, we do have options for students who already have a bachelor's. You can pursue a second degree. As I mentioned before, we have a vast number of second degrees. So this is a shorter term program in the Bachelor's of Management. That's 15 to 25 courses, shorter program than a bachelor's, but you get a bachelor's. And then we do have some really great studio space for fine arts. So we have a digital audio arts major, fantastic program, the most comprehensive of its kind in Western Canada. If you're interested in production engineering, sound engineering, you want to be in the orchestra and making like all those kinds of sound decisions, we have a lot of great facilities on campus here, and students get a really well-rounded education, and it is very unique. And if you're looking for that kind of bachelor's of music, the University of Lethbridge is really great for that. And then I will mention more specifically about Alberta and why people do choose Alberta. I know we're going a little bit long. Sorry,
No problem.
I am a talker.
No problem.
With regards to Alberta, we do find that we have the highest median home income in Canada across the board. So if you're, going into certain sectors, you are likely to be making more money than in another province. And then we do have an affordable cost of living. I already mentioned the provincial tax. If you are living in Calgary, it will be a little bit more expensive to live there, but it's nowhere near as expensive as Vancouver and Toronto. So we are seeing a huge influx going into Calgary from even other Canadian provinces because you're getting the high quality of life there, but you're getting it at a cheaper cost. I'll give an example. In 2022, the Economist Intelligence Unit, they ranked Calgary as the world's third most livable city in the world. So that's kind of a big deal. And then because we are at, close proximity to Calgary, we have students who live, study, and work in Lethbridge, and then they think, I want to live in a bigger city, but I want to maintain a similar cost of living.
One of the biggest economies, as far as I know, currently in Canada, in terms of commercial activities, technology. Most importantly, I guess the industry of technology is very strong in Calgary, right?
Yeah. It has the fastest growing tech workforce in North America, and it is a big STEM hub. So there's a lot of career opportunities for students interested in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, as well as business. And then one of the kind of cool things is Southern Alberta is some of the sunniest part of the whole country. Calgary and Lethbridge, most specifically, are considered the sunniest cities. We have 333 days of sunshine a year, or over 330 days of sunshine a year. Which even in the very cold times in the winter, you do have things coming in like the Chinook winds, which are a really warm wind that kind of heats up the winter. So you'll have a day where a 20-degree increase can happen. So Southern Alberta, temperature-wise, is also very more temperate than other locations in Canada and in Northern Alberta. So in terms of that, it's also very attractive. And then we're also very famous for tourism in our province. We have 6 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. We have amazing national parks that people come from all over the world to come see. We have the Calgary Stampede, which happens every year. And it's kind of a great rodeo festival that you can come and enjoy. So there's a lot of things going on in Alberta that people may not be aware of, but it's kind of a great location to pursue and then to build a family, because buying a house is not it's within reach, where you may not be able to do that in Toronto and Vancouver.
Amazing. Like the last part has been really cool for any student to consider the states in Canada in general, because people are looking for a good return to their investments. and they are looking for regions, universities, partners who can actually provide these returns. And definitely, I think with the current status, current conjuncture in Canada, I think considering Lethbridge and Calgary also as one of the most booming economies in Canada nowadays in terms of location, in terms of job prospects, in terms of immigration. There are huge advantages when we summarize whatever you said. And I think while taking these futures, people will still get a quality education, quality health service, quality, lifestyle. To be honest with you, being a person living in Toronto right now, I see the advantages that you're mentioning much more than maybe a standard person, because like the life is I mean, it's crazy expensive, really crazy expensive in Toronto right now, in terms of real estate, as you mentioned, like not even buying a house, but also the rent prices are really high. And for an international student to consider, there are many jobs, co-ops, or maybe short-term jobs that are not paying too much, or not even paying to the candidates, especially for the co-op sections of the universities and colleges. And the future immigration is getting more difficult and difficult every day, because like now that the postgraduate work permit will be lifted from some institutions, there will be no open work permit for spouses and dependents. I think people should really consider alternative destinations that are still open for more quality immigrants, quality students to come study and then stay in these regions. And I think that's the main message that we convey today, to consider strong alternatives like University of Lethbridge and the region, as Lethbridge and Calgary, for our future candidates to have more value for their investments, right?
Yes, exactly. And it's interesting you mentioned that about, cost of living, like for rent, for example, in terms of what you can get for the same price living in Toronto and Alberta, and it's not even comparable. I'll give an example. It's maybe very anecdotal because it's my personal experience, but in Lethbridge right now, for $12.50, you can get a 3-bedroom apartment with 2 bathrooms, kitchen area, living room area, and I feel like in Toronto is very big. Like that would not be what you're spending. So in that situation, you have 3 students living there. Let's say, for example, the rent is split in 3, and then you've got, of course, some additional expenses, but that is quite affordable compared to other bigger cities. And then there are opportunities, to rent a basement, rent, living on campus. One thing I will mention is food costs are a little bit high right now in Canada. And so that might make up a little bit of a difference, but it does depend on every student. Some people eat little, some people eat more. It's very variable. But when it comes to cost of living, Alberta is the place to be with the, similar kind of lifestyle that you can expect, especially with our close proximity to Calgary. If you're someone who's like, oh, I can't live somewhere small, just go to Calgary on the weekend, have your fun time, and then come to school.
Calgary is not a small town. I think we should mention
that.
No,
not at all. There's so much to do. I love Calgary. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so thank you so much for today's session, Sandra. And we'll be keeping in touch, and hopefully we are now having our first students going from Turkey, Middle East, North Africa, from your university, and there will be some experiences to share from these students as well. And thanks for sparing the time and providing all these information to our candidates today. And we'll definitely stay in touch and talk more.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you so much for having me. I hope I answered your question.